The space station hung like a massive jewel against the darkness of space. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its ports, bringing diplomats and traders to the Galactic Council. Among them, a small Earth vessel approached, carrying humanity's hopes for recognition. Captain Tae-sung stood at the viewport, watching the station grow larger. He wore a simple blue uniform, nothing fancy compared to what the other species would wear. His dark hair was cut short, military style. At 32 years old, he had seen war, loss, and struggle. Earth had sent him because he knew how to stay calm when others wanted to fight. "Captain, we're cleared for docking," his pilot said. Tae-sung nodded and straightened his uniform. Today would decide everything. Either humanity would gain a voice in galactic affairs, or they would be dismissed as primitives, unworthy of attention. The docking bay was enormous. Tae-sung walked down the ramp with two other humans behind him. They looked small compared to the aliens around them. Some species towered 3 meters tall. Others had multiple arms or strange skin that shifted colors. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. "Look at them," one alien said, not bothering to whisper. "So tiny, so weak." Tae-sung ignored the comment. He had heard worse. Earth had only made contact with the galactic community 5 years ago. Most species saw humans as newcomers who hadn't earned their place. They didn't know about Earth's wars, its struggles, or how humans had clawed their way up from caves to starships. A guide approached, a floating drone with a pleasant voice. "Human delegation, please follow me to the council chamber." Tae-sung and his team followed through corridors filled with aliens who whispered and pointed. The council chamber was breathtaking. It was a circular room with a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. Representatives from dozens of species sat in rising tiers around the central floor. At the highest point sat the Council of Five, the most powerful leaders in this part of the galaxy. Tae-sung walked to the center of the floor. He felt every eye on him, the weight of Earth pressed on his shoulders. Millions of humans were counting on him to succeed. "The human delegation may present their petition," announced the head counselor, an ancient being with silver skin and too many eyes. Tae-sung began his speech. He talked about Earth's resources, its people's determination, and what humanity could offer the galactic community. He kept his voice steady and his words clear. He had practiced this speech 1,000 times. Then she appeared. Princess Hana of the Valorian Empire entered through a side door. She was tall, nearly 2 meters, with an athletic build that spoke of years of training. Her skin had a slight blue tint, and her eyes were the color of deep oceans. She wore armor that gleamed like liquid metal, and a sword hung at her hip. Her black hair was pulled back in a warrior's braid. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Hana walked right past the designated seating and stood at the edge of the central floor, looking down at Tae-sung. "This is what Earth sends? This small, fragile thing?" Her voice carried across the chamber. Some aliens laughed. Others looked uncomfortable. Tae-sung stopped his speech. He looked up at her calmly. "Princess Hana, I've heard of your reputation. They say you've never lost a challenge." "Because I am the best," she said simply. "I have trained my entire life for combat and strategy. I have defeated warriors from a dozen worlds. And now Earth sends someone like you to ask for a seat among the great powers?" She shook her head. "Humanity is not ready. You are weak. Your technology is primitive. Your lifespans are short. What can you possibly offer us?" The chamber fell silent. Every species representative waited to see how the human would respond. Tae-sung's team looked worried, but he smiled slightly. "You're right that we're different," he said. "Humans don't live as long as Valorians. We're not as strong as Krellians or as fast as Zentari. But we're here anyway. We built starships. We survived wars that should have destroyed us. We learned to work together when everything told us to fight each other." He paused. Maybe that makes us weak in your eyes. Or maybe it makes us something else. Hana's eyes narrowed. She didn't like his tone. It wasn't afraid or apologetic. It was confident. You speak well for a primitive, but words mean nothing. Actions prove worth. She descended the steps and walked onto the central floor, facing Tae-sung directly. Up close, she towered over him. "I invoke the right of challenge," she declared. The chamber erupted in surprised voices. The head counselor raised a hand for silence. "Princess Hana, you understand what you're proposing." "Perfectly," she said, never taking her eyes off Tae-sung. "The ancient law is clear. If this human can defeat me in trials of mind, body and spirit, then I acknowledge his worth. More than that, by Valorian tradition, I become his bonded companion. He may claim me as his own." Gasps echoed through the chamber. This was an old custom, rarely invoked. It was serious, binding, and public. "And if I lose?" Tae-sung asked quietly. "When you lose," Hana corrected, "Earth's petition is denied. Your species will be barred from the Galactic Council for 100 years. You will return to your little planet and remember your place." The stakes were impossibly high. Tae-sung's team tried to protest, but he raised a hand to stop them. He studied Hana's face. She expected him to refuse. She expected fear. Everyone in the chamber expected him to back down from this impossible challenge. That was his first advantage. They all underestimated what a human would do when cornered. "I accept your challenge, Princess Hana," he said clearly. The chamber exploded in conversation. Hana looked surprised for just a moment before her expression hardened into a warrior's mask. "You're braver than I thought, or more foolish." "We'll find out," Tae-sung replied. The head counselor struck a chime to restore order. "The challenge is witnessed and recorded. 3 trials will be held. The first trial will test the mind and strategy. It will take place in the Crystal Arena in 2 days. Both challengers will have time to prepare." The counselor looked at both of them. "This challenge cannot be revoked. It must be completed. Do you both understand?" "Yes," said Hana. "Yes," said Tae-sung. As the session ended and beings began to leave, Hana approached Tae-sung one more time. "I will not go easy on you because you're human. I will defeat you with everything I have." "I wouldn't want it any other way," he said. She studied him for a long moment, then turned and walked away, her armor catching the light. Tae-sung watched her go, his mind already working on how to win an impossible challenge. His team gathered around him. "Sir, what were you thinking? She's unbeatable." Tae-sung smiled grimly. "That's what they want us to believe. But every champion has weaknesses. We just need to find them." He looked up at the stars through the dome. "Besides, humanity has always been good at winning fights we shouldn't. Let's prove it one more time." The challenge was set. In 2 days, the galaxy would watch a human face a warrior princess in battle. Most expected it to be over quickly, but Tae-sung had no intention of losing. Earth was counting on him, and humans never gave up without a fight. The Crystal Arena lived up to its name. The entire structure was made of transparent material that showed the stars beyond. Inside, holographic projectors could create any environment, any battlefield, any challenge the council desired. Thousands of spectators filled the seats, representing dozens of species. They had come to watch the human fail. Tae-sung stood in the preparation chamber, reviewing tactical data on his handheld device. He had spent the last 2 days studying everything he could find about Valorian military strategy. They favored overwhelming force and direct confrontation. They believed in honor, in facing enemies head-on with superior technology and numbers. That was their weakness. A chime sounded. It was time. Tae-sung walked through the corridor and emerged into the arena. The crowd's noise hit him like a wave. Some cheered, curious about the strange human. Most remained silent, waiting to see him crushed. Hana was already there, standing on the opposite side of the arena floor. She wore a sleek combat suit instead of her ceremonial armor. Her expression was focused, confident. She looked like someone who had never doubted victory in her life. The head arbiter, a neutral species member, floated above the arena floor. The first trial tests strategy and tactical thinking. Each challenger will command a fleet in holographic simulation. The objective is simple: defeat your opponent's forces. You may use any strategy you wish within the rules of engagement. The simulation will be live and visible to all observers. Holographic panels appeared before both Tai Sung and Hana. They showed fleet compositions, star maps, and tactical options. Tai Sung studied his available ships. He had fewer vessels than Hana, and they were less advanced. The simulation was designed to mirror reality, humans with limited resources facing a superior force. "Begin," the arbiter declared. Immediately, Hana's fleet moved forward in a classic Valorian formation. Her heavy battleships formed the center, with faster cruisers on the flanks and fighters screening ahead. It was a textbook approach, one that had won countless battles. She advanced directly toward Taesung's starting position with overwhelming confidence. Taesung made his first move. His fleet scattered. The crowd murmured in confusion. Splitting forces in the face of a stronger enemy seemed like suicide. Hana's expression showed brief surprise, then satisfaction. She thought he was panicking. Her fleet pursued his largest group of ships. They led her into an asteroid field. Hana didn't hesitate. She pushed forward, her superior shields allowing her ships to handle the impacts. Her forces closed in for the kill. Then Tai Sung sprung his trap. His ships had seeded the asteroids with mines during their retreat. When Hana's fleet entered the densest part of the field, the mines activated. Explosions rippled through her formation. It wasn't enough to destroy her ships, but it damaged them and broke their perfect formation. At the same moment, Taesung's other scattered groups attacked from 3 different directions. They didn't target Hana's battleships. Instead, they went after her supply ships and communication vessels, the unglamorous but essential support craft hanging back from the main battle. Hana reacted quickly, redirecting forces to protect her logistics chain. But this meant pulling ships away from her main attack. Her formation, so perfect moments ago, was now divided and responding to multiple threats. Taesung pressed his advantage. His ships used hit-and-run tactics, never staying to fight a direct battle. They would strike, damage a target, and retreat before Hana's superior firepower could respond. It was frustrating, undignified, and effective. "Stand and fight," Hana commanded through the communication channel, her voice showing irritation for the first time. "Why?" Taesung replied calmly. "I'm winning." It was true. Despite having fewer and weaker ships, Taesung was slowly bleeding Hana's fleet dry. Her vessels were damaged, scattered, and running low on the supplies his raiders kept destroying. She had more firepower, but she couldn't use it effectively against an enemy who refused to face her directly. Hana changed tactics. She consolidated her remaining forces into a tight defensive formation and began a fighting retreat toward a defensible position near a planet. It was a smart move, cutting her losses and trying to force Taesung to attack a fortified position. But Taesung didn't attack. Instead, his ships began to blockade her position. They stayed just out of range of her weapons, forming a perimeter she couldn't break through without taking catastrophic losses. "A siege?" Hana's voice came through the comm. "This could take weeks." "Then surrender," Taesung suggested. "Your fleet is damaged. Your supplies are running low. You can't break out without heavy losses, and I can wait as long as needed. From a strategic standpoint, you've already lost." The crowd watching the simulation was completely silent. This wasn't the glorious battle they expected. It was uncomfortable, messy, and showed their champion trapped by an inferior force. Hana stared at her tactical display. Everything Tae-sung said was true. In a real war, her position would be untenable. She could win a single battle by charging out and destroying some of his ships, but she would lose the campaign. Continuing to fight would just waste lives for no strategic gain. It went against everything she had been taught. Valorians believed in decisive battles, in clear victories, and honorable combat. This human fought like a coward, always retreating, using tricks and traps. And yet, he was winning. Slowly, Hana reached for the surrender icon on her panel. The moment she touched it, the simulation ended. The holographic fleets vanished, leaving just her and Tae-sung standing on the arena floor. The Arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber. "The first trial is complete. Captain Tae-sung is victorious by strategic surrender of his opponent." The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some species cheered, impressed by the upset. Others sat in stunned silence. The Valorian delegation looked as if they couldn't believe what they had witnessed. Hana removed her tactical interface and walked across the arena floor toward Tae-sung. He waited, unsure how she would react to defeat. When she stopped in front of him, her expression was unreadable. "You fought without honor," she said quietly. "I fought to win," he replied. "That's what you asked for. You used tricks, deception. You ran away instead of facing me directly." "Yes, because facing you directly would have been suicide." Tae-sung met her eyes steadily. "Princess, you're a better warrior than me. Your fleet was stronger. If I had fought the way you expected, I would have lost in minutes. So I fought the way humans fight when we're outmatched. We adapt, we survive. We find the one path to victory that no one else sees." Hana was silent for a long moment. "On my world, we teach that true strength comes from facing your enemy head-on. That honor matters more than victory." "On my world," Tae-sung said, "we teach that dead warriors can't protect anyone. We fight to survive, to protect what we love, and to see tomorrow. Sometimes that means being clever instead of brave." Something shifted in Hana's expression. She looked at him with new eyes, seeing not a weak human, but a different kind of warrior. One who played by different rules, but was no less dangerous for it. "The second trial is in 3 days," she said finally. "It will be physical combat. In that arena, your tricks won't save you." "Maybe not," Tae-sung admitted. "But I'll still try." A slight smile crossed her face, so brief he almost missed it. "I believe you will." She nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement if not quite respect, and walked away. As Tae-sung left the arena, his team surrounded him with congratulations. But he didn't celebrate. He had won the first trial, but 2 more remained. Hana was right that his advantages would be smaller in physical combat. He would need to find new ways to compete against someone stronger, faster, and trained from childhood to fight. That night, alone in his quarters, Tae-sung reviewed footage of Valorian combat styles. He watched Hana's previous matches, studying her movements, looking for patterns. She was incredibly skilled, but everyone had habits. Everyone had reflexes that could be exploited. He had 3 days to find her weaknesses. 3 days to figure out how a human could beat a warrior princess in hand-to-hand combat. It seemed impossible, but then again, so had the first trial. Tae-sung smiled grimly at his reflection. Humans specialized in impossible. It was what they did best. The gravity pit earned its name honestly. The arena could adjust gravity levels in different zones, creating environments from dozens of worlds. Obstacles rose from the floor, platforms shifted position, and the whole space could become a nightmare of physical challenges. It was designed to test a warrior's body to its absolute limits. Tae-sung stood at the entrance, doing final stretches. His body ached from 3 days of intense training. He had pushed himself harder than ever before, preparing for this moment. But he knew the truth. No amount of training would make him Hana's physical equal. Valorians evolved on a high-gravity world. Their muscles were denser, their bones stronger, their reflexes faster. Hana could probably lift twice his weight without effort. In a straight fight, she would destroy him in seconds, so he wouldn't fight straight. The arena doors opened. Tae-sung walked out into a space that looked like chaos made solid. Platforms floated at different heights. Some zones showed visual distortions where gravity was altered. Obstacles jutted from floor and ceiling at odd angles. The whole arena seemed designed to confuse and disorient. Hana was already there, warming up with practiced movements. She wore a light combat suit that allowed maximum mobility. When she saw Tae-sung, she stopped and faced him. "Ready to lose?" she asked. There was less hostility in her voice than before, almost a hint of challenge between equals. "Ready to try," he replied. The arbiter appeared above them. The second trial tests physical capability and combat skill. The trial has 3 stages. First, an obstacle course through variable gravity. Second, direct combat. Third, an endurance challenge. You must complete all 3 stages. Highest combined score wins. The arbiter paused. "Begin." Immediately, the floor beneath them changed. A path lit up, leading through the arena's chaos. The first stage had started. Hana launched forward with incredible speed. She moved like water, flowing through obstacles that would have stopped a normal human cold. When she hit a high-gravity zone, she barely slowed. When she reached a low-gravity area, she used it to leap impossible distances. Tae-sung followed, focusing on efficiency over speed. He had studied the arena layout during his preparation time. Every official challenge arena had to file its configuration with the council. He knew where the gravity shifts would be, which obstacles were stable and which were traps. Where Hana used raw power to smash through challenges, Tae-sung used technique and knowledge. He found easier paths, used momentum instead of strength, and conserved energy wherever possible. They reached a wall that extended to the ceiling. Hana simply ran up it with her superior leg strength, grabbing handholds and pulling herself over the top. Tae-sung studied the wall for 3 seconds, then noticed a slight shadow pattern. He pressed a specific panel and a hidden ladder extended. He climbed it calmly. "That's cheating!" someone in the crowd shouted. "That's reading the instructions," Tae-sung muttered to himself. Hana finished the obstacle course first, but only by a narrow margin. She stood at the finish line, breathing hard but controlled. When Tae-sung arrived moments later, she looked surprised. "You're faster than you look," she admitted. "You're exactly as fast as you look," he replied, genuinely impressed. "Which is terrifying." The floor shifted again. Obstacles retracted, leaving a flat, open space. The second stage, direct combat. "No weapons," the arbiter announced. "Hand-to-hand only. Fight until submission or incapacitation." They faced each other across the empty floor. Tae-sung fell into a loose fighting stance, one he had learned from multiple martial arts. Hana adopted a Valorian combat position, balanced and ready to explode into action. She moved first, closing the distance with frightening speed. Her first strike was a straight punch aimed at his chest. If it connected, it would probably break ribs. Tae-sung didn't try to block it. Instead, he pivoted at the last second, letting it pass by his side. He used her momentum against her, tapping her extended arm to throw her slightly off balance. It wasn't much, but it was enough to avoid the follow-up knee strike. Hana adjusted instantly, spinning into a roundhouse kick. Tae-sung ducked under it and backed away, maintaining distance. "Stop running," Hana said, but there was almost amusement in her voice. "Stop trying to kill me," he shot back. They circled each other. Hana attacked again, a combination of strikes that would have overwhelmed most opponents. Tae-sung didn't try to match her power. He deflected what he could, dodged what he couldn't, and looked for openings. The problem was, Hana didn't leave many openings. She was trained from childhood by the best warriors in the Valorian Empire. Her technique was nearly flawless, but nearly wasn't perfect. Tae-sung noticed she favored her right side slightly. Most fighters did, but Hana's preference was pronounced. She also had a pattern. After 3 high strikes, she would go low. It was subtle, but it was there. He waited for his moment. When she launched another combination, he counted. 1 high punch, 2 high punch, 3 high punch. Then she dropped for a leg sweep. Tae-sung jumped over it and, while airborne, struck down at a pressure point on her shoulder. It was a precise strike taught by human martial artists, designed to temporarily disable muscles. Hana's right arm went partially numb. Her eyes widened in surprise. Tae-sung landed and immediately retreated before she could retaliate with her left. "What did you do?" she demanded, rotating her shoulder. "Pressure point strike," he explained. "It'll wear off in a few minutes. Humans studied how to fight when we couldn't rely on strength. We learned to be precise instead." Hana's expression shifted to respect. "Clever." She switched to a left-handed stance and came at him again. The fight continued. Tae-sung accumulated hits, bruises, and at least 1 cracked rib, but he also landed his own strikes, using speed and precision to target joints, pressure points, and unguarded areas. Where Hana used a hammer, he used a scalpel. Neither could gain a decisive advantage. The Arbiter finally called time after 10 minutes of continuous combat. "Second stage is a draw," the Arbiter announced. "Both fighters demonstrated exceptional skill. Final stage begins now." The arena floor changed one last time. A massive cylinder appeared in the center, filled with water. Swimming pools appeared, along with climbing walls and zones marked with environmental hazards. "Endurance challenge," the Arbiter explained. "Complete as many laps of the course as possible. Higher gravity with each lap. Last one standing wins." This was Tae-sung's chance. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They could run for hours, days even, outlasting faster prey through sheer endurance. It was humanity's secret weapon, built into their very DNA. They started together. The first lap was easy for both. Second lap, gravity increased. Hana still moved with grace, her high-gravity world evolution showing its advantages. Third lap, fourth lap, fifth lap, the gravity kept increasing. Breathing became harder. Muscles screamed. Hana was still ahead, but her movements were less fluid now. Sixth lap, seventh lap. Tae-sung's ribs burned with every breath. His legs felt like lead. But he didn't stop. Humans didn't stop. They kept going when everything said quit. Eighth lap. Hana stumbled for the first time. She caught herself and pushed on, but Tae-sung saw the strain in her face. Her superior strength was becoming a liability as the high gravity pulled at her denser muscles. Ninth lap. Tae-sung pulled even with her. They moved side by side now, 2 warriors refusing to surrender. 10th lap. Hana's legs gave out. She collapsed to one knee, gasping. She tried to stand but couldn't. Her body had reached its limit. Tae-sung was still standing. Barely. He swayed on his feet, vision blurring. But he was standing. "Winner by endurance, Captain Tae-sung," the Arbiter declared. Tae-sung immediately stumbled over to Hana. "Are you okay?" She looked up at him with exhausted amazement. "How? You should have fallen before me. You're smaller, lighter, less strong." "Different evolution," he managed between gasps. "Humans, we're built for the long run. Not fast, not strong, but we don't quit." Medical drones arrived to check both fighters. Hana stood with assistants, still staring at Tae-sung. "You've beaten me twice now. I didn't think it possible." "One more trial," he said. "Then we're done." She nodded slowly. The third trial is different. It tests your spirit, your will. There are no tricks that will help you there. Good, Tae-sung said. I'm running out of tricks anyway. Despite everything, Hana smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine. You're the most interesting opponent I've ever faced, human. Tae-sung, he corrected gently. My name is Tae-sung. Hana, she replied. I think we've beaten each other enough to use names. As they left the arena together, supported by medical staff, the crowd gave them both a standing ovation. They had witnessed something rare, two warriors pushing each other to absolute limits and finding respect in the struggle. The Valorian sacred temple was not part of the space station. It existed on a small moon that orbited the station, accessible only by special shuttle. The temple was ancient, built thousands of years ago when Valorians first reached the stars. It was a place of meditation, of testing, and of truth. Tae-sung had been given 2 days to recover from the physical trial. His ribs were healing with advanced medical treatment, but he still felt the deep ache of exhaustion. The third trial would be different, they told him. It would not test his body but his mind and spirit. He didn't know if that made it better or worse. The shuttle landed on a platform carved from the moon's stone. Hana was waiting there, wearing simple robes instead of her usual armor or combat suit. She looked different this way, less like a warrior and more like a person. Her expression was serious but not hostile. The third trial takes place in the Chamber of Echoes, she explained as they walked together toward the temple entrance. It's old technology, older than our current empire. We don't fully understand how it works, only that it does. What does it do? Tae-sung asked. It shows you truth, Hana said simply. Your truth, your fears, your regrets, your deepest pain. The chamber will make you face everything you've tried to hide from yourself. She paused. Many warriors have broken in that chamber. Some never recover. And we both have to endure it? Yes. Whoever breaks first loses. Whoever holds their mind together wins. She looked at him with something like concern. Tae-sung, you can still surrender. You've proven yourself already. No one would think less of you for refusing this trial. Would you surrender? He asked. She was quiet for a moment. No, I couldn't. My pride wouldn't allow it. Then neither can I, he said. For different reasons, maybe. But the result is the same. I have to see this through. They entered the temple together. Inside, the architecture was beautiful and strange. Walls seemed to shift between solid and transparent. Lights moved in patterns that hurt to watch directly. At the center of the temple was a chamber with 2 seats facing each other. The temple keeper, an ancient Valorian with skin like weathered stone, greeted them. You understand what you're about to experience? Yes, they both said. The chamber will connect your minds to a neural interface. You will see visions drawn from your own memories and fears. They will feel real. They will hurt. The only way to end it is to surrender or to endure until your mind finds peace with what it sees. The keeper looked at each of them in turn. Many have gone mad in this chamber. Are you certain? Yes, Tae-sung said firmly. Yes, Hana echoed. They entered the chamber and sat in the facing seats. The keeper activated the ancient technology. Neural interfaces descended from the ceiling, connecting to their heads. The world began to fade. Tae-sung found himself standing on a battlefield. Earth. He recognized the landscape immediately. This was the Battle of New Seoul, the last great war before Earth made contact with alien species. He had been there. He had commanded forces there. And he had lost people there. The battle played out around him like a nightmare he couldn't escape. He saw his soldiers, people he had known and cared about, fighting and dying. He heard their screams. He smelled blood and smoke. Captain, we need to retreat. his lieutenant shouted, the same words from that terrible day. Hold the line, younger Tae-sung commanded. We hold or the city falls. They held. But 20 good people died doing it. 20 people who trusted him, who followed his orders, who believed he would keep them safe. The vision shifted. Now he stood at a memorial service. 20 names carved in stone. 20 families who would never see their loved ones again, all because of his decisions. You killed them, a voice whispered. It was his own voice. You gave the orders that sent them to die. You're not a hero. You're a killer. Tae-sung wanted to look away, but couldn't. The faces of the dead surrounded him, accusing, questioning. Why them? Why did they have to die? Did their sacrifice mean anything? The pain was enormous. Guilt he had carried for years came flooding back, drowning him. In the other seat, Hana faced her own nightmare. She stood in the royal palace on Valoria. Her father, the emperor, looked at her with disappointment. You failed, he said. You lost to a human, a weak, primitive human. You have disgraced our entire empire. Father, I tried my best, Hana said, hearing her voice crack like a child's. Your best wasn't good enough. Her father turned away from her. You were supposed to be the perfect warrior, the pride of our people. Instead, you're a failure. Perhaps we should have chosen your sister to be the champion after all. The scene shifted. Now she stood before her people, thousands of Valorians watching her. They whispered, pointed, laughed. The great princess, defeated by a human. The mighty warrior, brought low by a weaker species. You don't deserve the title of princess, the voices said. You don't deserve anything. Hana felt tears on her face. She had lived her entire life trying to be perfect, to never show weakness, to be the warrior her people needed. The thought of failing them, of disappointing everyone who believed in her, was more painful than any physical wound. I tried, she whispered. I tried so hard. Back in his vision, Tae-sung stood among the graves. The guilt threatened to crush him. But slowly, something changed in his mind. He thought about those 20 soldiers. Yes, they had died, but the city had survived. 5 million people lived because of that sacrifice. It didn't make the deaths right or good. Nothing could, but maybe it meant something. Maybe their sacrifice had purpose. I didn't kill them, Tae-sung said to his own accusing voice. War killed them. I made the choice I had to make. I carry the weight of that choice every day, but I can't let guilt destroy me, because then their sacrifice means nothing. He thought about Earth, about humanity. If he surrendered now, Earth would be isolated for 100 years. His people's chance to join the galactic community would be lost. More lives affected by his choices. I honor the dead by living, Tae-sung said firmly. By making their sacrifice count. By being strong enough to carry the weight and keep moving forward. The battlefield began to fade. The accusing voices grew quieter. The pain didn't disappear, but it became bearable. Tae-sung had faced his deepest guilt and found a way to live with it. In her vision, Hana heard the mocking voices of her people. The disappointment in her father's eyes felt like knives. But then she thought about Tae-sung, this human who kept surprising her. He had beaten her not through superior strength, but through different thinking. He showed her that there were other ways to be strong, other kinds of courage. Losing to him didn't make her weak. It made her wiser. I'm not a failure, Hana said to the vision of her father. I fought with everything I had against an opponent who thought differently than me. He taught me that strength comes in many forms. If understanding that makes me a failure in your eyes, then maybe your definition of success is too narrow. She turned to face the crowd of mocking Valorians. I am your princess. I fight for you, protect you, and lead you. But I'm also a person. I can learn, I can grow. I can be wrong and become better. That's not weakness. That's strength. The palace began to dissolve. Her father's disappointed face faded away. The mocking voices stopped. Hana opened her eyes to find herself back in the chamber. Tears streaked her face, but she was smiling. She felt lighter, as if a massive weight had lifted from her shoulders. Across from her, Tae-sung was also awakening. His face showed the same exhausted relief. The temple keeper watched them both. You have both endured. You have both faced your deepest fears and survived. This trial has no winner. Both of you passed. Hana stood on shaky legs and walked to Tae-sung. She offered her hand. He took it and she helped him up. For a moment, they just looked at each other, two people who had been to hell and back. I saw my failures, Hana said quietly. So did I, Tae-sung replied. But we're still here. Yes, still here. They walked out of the temple together, supporting each other. The third trial was over. The challenge was technically complete. But as they boarded the shuttle back to the station, both of them knew something had changed between them. They had started as opponents. Now they were something else. Not quite allies, not quite friends, but definitely not enemies. What happens now? Tae-sung asked. The challenge was 3 trials. We're 1-1 with 1 draw. Hana smiled slightly. Now things get complicated. The council chamber buzzed with conversation. Representatives from dozens of worlds argued about what the trial results meant. Tae-sung had won 2 trials. 1 was a draw. By most measures, he had won the challenge. But the situation was unprecedented, and the rules were ancient and unclear. Tae-sung sat with his small Earth delegation, trying to stay calm. Across the chamber, Hana sat with her Valorian advisors. Their eyes met occasionally, sharing a look of mutual exhaustion and uncertainty. The council will deliberate and announce a decision tomorrow, the head counselor declared. Both challengers have performed beyond expectations. We must consider carefully what this means. As the session ended and beings began to leave, a Valorian aide approached Hana quickly. He whispered something in her ear. Her expression changed from tired to alert in an instant. She glanced at Tae-sung and gave him a small signal. Meet me. An hour later, they met in a neutral conference room that Hana had reserved. She was alone, which surprised Tae-sung. He had brought 1 team member for security. Send them outside, Hana said. This must be private. Tae-sung hesitated, then nodded to his colleague. When they were alone, Hana activated a privacy field that would prevent anyone from listening or recording. We have a problem, she said, pulling up a holographic display. My intelligence officer found something strange. Someone has been sabotaging both of us. What do you mean? Tae-sung asked, moving closer to look at the data. Small things. During the first trial, someone tried to hack your tactical systems. The attempt failed, but it was there. During the second trial, the gravity in your section was supposed to increase faster than mine. The arena systems were modified. Tae-sung felt his blood run cold. Someone wanted me to lose. Not just you. During the third trial, the neural interface was set to more intense levels than normal, for both of us. Someone wanted us both to break. Hana's jaw tightened with anger. The challenge was supposed to be difficult, but fair. This was attempted murder. Who would do this? Hana pulled up profiles of 2 council members. Ambassador Kale of the Torvin Collective and High Counselor Rin of the Zental Union. My intelligence suggests they worked together. Tae-sung studied the profiles. Why? What do they gain? Think about it, Hana said. If you failed quickly, Earth would be humiliated and isolated. Your species would never gain a council seat. Meanwhile, I would look strong, but I challenged a weak opponent. No honor in that. And if the third trial broke us both? Then Earth loses its best diplomat, and I lose my position as heir to the Valorian throne. Both our civilizations would be weakened. Hana's eyes flashed with anger. Kyle and Rin are allies. They both oppose Earth joining the Council, and they both fear Valoria's military strength. Destroying both of us serves their interests. Tae-sung felt his mind racing. We need proof. Suspicion isn't enough. I know. That's why I need your help. Hana looked at him seriously. My people are excellent warriors, but you humans are clever at finding hidden things. You think differently. Together we might be able to prove what they've done. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking us to trust each other. Our enemies made us fight each other to weaken both our peoples. I say we show them what happens when Valorians and humans work together instead. Tae-sung made his decision. What do you need? Over the next hours they planned. Hana had partial access to security systems through her royal position. Tae-sung had his team's technical expertise and Earth's experience with digital intelligence gathering. Combined, they might be able to trace the sabotage back to its source. Tae-sung called in his technical specialist, a woman named Bo-ra who was brilliant with computers. Hana brought her intelligence officer, a quiet Valorian named Day. The four of them worked through the night. There, Bo-ra said, pointing at streams of code. That's the hack attempt on the tactical systems during Trial 1. See how it routes through 17 different servers? That's professional work. Can you trace it? Tae-sung asked. Give me time. Her fingers flew across holographic keyboards. Meanwhile, Day examined the arena modification records. The gravity system changes were logged as routine maintenance, but the maintenance was ordered by someone using Counselor Rin's access codes. That's not proof, Hana said. He'll claim his codes were stolen. Unless we can show a pattern, Tae-sung suggested. One incident could be coincidence. Multiple incidents from the same sources become evidence. They worked systematically through each sabotage attempt. The more they uncovered, the clearer the picture became. Kale and Rin had been working together for months, preparing for the challenge. They had people in the arena maintenance crews, in the Temple Keeper's staff, even in the Council's own security. This goes deep, Day said grimly. They have resources and influence we didn't expect. Which means we need to be careful how we expose them, Tae-sung said. If we accuse them without perfect proof, they'll use their influence to bury the accusations and destroy us. Bo-ra suddenly sat up straight. I found something. The hack attempt on the tactical system, it passed through a server owned by one of Ambassador Kale's shell companies. And look at the timestamp. It was initiated from inside the council building, from a terminal near Kale's office. That's good, but we need more, Hana said. I'm not finished, Bo-ra said with a slight smile. I traced other traffic from that same server. Financial transfers, coded messages, and communications with the maintenance crew that altered the gravity systems. It's all here. Day was examining something else. The neural interface modifications? I found the work order. It was approved by a junior council member who reports directly to Counselor Rin. But more importantly, there's a recorded message from Rin to that junior member discussing how the challenge needed to break both participants to achieve their goals. That's it, Hana said, her voice cold with satisfaction. That's our proof. They compiled everything into a single secure file. The evidence was damning. Kale and Rin had conspired to sabotage the challenge, endanger both participants, and manipulate galactic politics for their own benefit. What do we do with this? Bo-ra asked. We can't just send it to the council, Tae-sung said. They'd bury it. We need to make it public, impossible to hide. Hana thought for a moment. The challenge decision is tomorrow. The entire council will be there, along with representatives from every major civilization. What if we present this evidence there in front of everyone? They'll try to stop us, Day warned. Then we'll have to be fast. Tae-sung looked at each of them. Are we sure about this? Once we do this, we're making powerful enemies. They'll come after us with everything they have. They already tried to kill us, Hana pointed out. I don't think we can make them angrier. Earth didn't send me here to play politics safely, Tae-sung said. They sent me to fight for our future. This is part of that fight. They spent the rest of the night preparing. They copied the evidence to multiple secure locations. They planned exactly how to present it in the council chamber. They prepared for every possible response and counterattack. As dawn broke over the space station, Tae-sung stood at a viewport watching the stars. Hana came to stand beside him. "Nervous?" she asked. "Terrified," he admitted. "We're about to accuse two powerful council members of attempted murder in front of the entire galactic community. What could go wrong?" She smiled slightly. "Everything." "But we're doing it anyway." "Why are you helping me?" Tae-sung asked. "You could walk away from this. Let Earth deal with its own problems." "Because they tried to hurt both of us. They made us enemies when we should have been allies." Hana looked at him seriously. "And because I've learned something from you, human. You don't give up. You face impossible situations and find a way through. That's worth fighting for." "Tae-sung," he corrected gently. "Tae-sung," she repeated and smiled. "Are you ready to show the galaxy what we can do together?" He smiled back. "Let's shake things up." They walked toward the council chamber together, carrying evidence that would expose corruption at the highest levels of galactic government. They had started as enemies in a challenge. Now they were partners in a much bigger fight. The challenge had been about individual strength, but what came next would be about something more important: trust, cooperation, and proving that different species working together could accomplish more than any could alone. The real test was just beginning. The Grand Coliseum was the largest gathering space on the station. Every seat was filled. Representatives from hundreds of worlds had come to witness the council's decision about the challenge. Tae-sung and Hana had become famous across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see how this story would end. Tae-sung stood in the central floor with his delegation. Hana stood with hers on the opposite side. They had agreed to keep their distance until the right moment. No one could know they were working together. The Council of Five entered and took their places at the highest tier. The head counselor, Ambassador Kale, and High Counselor Rin were among them. Kale looked confident. Rin's expression was carefully neutral. Neither showed any sign of concern. "We are here to render judgment on the challenge," the head counselor announced. "Captain Tae-sung of Earth and Princess Hana of Valoria have completed 3 trials. The results were unprecedented. 2 victories for the human, 1 draw. The ancient laws are unclear about such outcomes." The chamber fell silent. Everyone waited. However, before we announce our decision, both parties have requested to speak. This is unusual, but permitted under council rules. Captain Tae-sung, you may address the council. Tae-sung stepped forward. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "Thank you, counselors. Before you make your decision, there is something you must know. The challenge we completed was compromised." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Kyle's eyes narrowed. Rin shifted in his seat. "What are you suggesting?" the head counselor asked. "I'm stating facts." Tae-sung activated a holographic display. Data streams appeared in the air above him. "During the 3 trials, someone attempted to sabotage both Princess Hana and myself. Tactical systems were hacked. Arena equipment was modified. Neural interfaces were set to dangerous levels." The murmurs grew louder. Council members leaned forward to see the evidence. "These are serious accusations," Counselor Rin said, his voice calm. "Do you have proof, or just suspicions?" "We have proof," Hana said, stepping forward from her side of the chamber. The crowd gasped. The 2 challengers, who should have been opponents, were clearly working together. Hana activated her own display, showing communication logs, financial records, and work orders. The sabotage was extensive and coordinated. It was designed to ensure both of us failed, weakening both Earth and Valoria. "And who do you accuse of this?" the head counselor asked carefully. Tae-sung met Kale's eyes. Ambassador Kale of the Torvin Collective and High Counselor Rin of the Zental Union. They planned and executed this conspiracy together. The chamber exploded into chaos. Dozens of species shouted questions and accusations. Security forces moved to alert positions. Kale stood, his face red with anger. "This is an outrageous lie," he shouted. "I am a respected member of this council. I would never—" "Then explain this," Bo-Ra said, activating another display. A recorded message played, showing Rin speaking with a junior council member about modifying the neural interface to break both participants. Rin's face went pale. "That recording is fake. It must be. Our technical experts can verify its authenticity," the head counselor said coldly. "Security. Secure both Counselor Rin and Ambassador Kale. They will not leave this chamber until we investigate these claims." Security forces moved forward. That's when everything went wrong. Kale pulled a device from his robes and activated it. An energy pulse knocked the nearest security officers back. "You fools! You really think we'd come here unprepared?" Rin activated his own device. Suddenly, armored figures appeared from hidden corridors around the chamber. They wore no identifying marks, but they carried military-grade weapons. "Mercenaries," Day said grimly. "They've been smuggled onto the station." "Everyone down!" Hana shouted. She tackled Tai Sung to the floor as energy blasts began flying. Council members scrambled for cover. Some species delegations had their own guards, who returned fire. The Grand Coliseum became a battlefield. "We need to get the council to safety," Tai Sung shouted over the noise. "Agreed," Hana replied. They moved together, keeping low. Hana's combat training and Tai Sung's tactical thinking complemented each other perfectly. They reached a group of counselors pinned down behind their seats. "This way," Tai Sung indicated an exit corridor. "It's blocked," one counselor said, terrified. A group of mercenaries stood between them and safety. "Not for long," Hana said. She grabbed a dropped energy weapon and moved forward. Tai Sung followed, covering her with another weapon he'd retrieved. They fought side by side. Hana's warrior training made her deadly at close range. Tai Sung's military experience let him predict enemy movements and direct their defense. Together, they carved a path through the mercenaries. "Fall back!" one mercenary shouted. They hadn't expected this level of resistance. Other delegations rallied. The Valorian guards, seeing their princess in danger, fought with renewed intensity. Earth's small security detail fought with human determination. Even species normally opposed to each other worked together against the common threat. Tai Sung helped counselors escape, while Hana held the defensive line. Bo-Ra and Dai coordinated with station security, directing them to the battle. Kael tried to escape in the chaos, but ran directly into Hana. "You've destroyed everything!" he screamed at her. "The Torvin Collective should lead this galaxy, not primitives like humans or warmongering Valorians." "The galaxy leads itself," Hana said coldly. "No single species should dominate others. That's the whole point of the council." She disarmed him with a single move and threw him to the arriving security forces. Rin tried to reach an escape shuttle, but Tai Sung cut him off. "It's over, Counselor. Surrender peacefully." "You don't understand," Rin said desperately. "Species like yours upset the balance. You adapt too quickly, grow too fast. In a century, humans will be everywhere. We were trying to contain a future threat." "By making us your enemy?" Tai Sung shook his head. "You created the exact thing you feared. We would have joined the council as peaceful partners. Now you've shown everyone why we need to be here, to prevent this kind of conspiracy." Station security captured Rin. The last of the mercenaries either surrendered or were subdued. The battle was over. The Grand Coliseum was damaged, but secure. As the chaos settled, Tai Sung and Hana stood together in the center of the chamber, breathing hard. Around them, species who had been ready to fight each other were helping wounded, sharing medical supplies, and working together to restore order. The head counselor emerged from safety, looking shaken but unharmed. This attack will be investigated thoroughly. Kale and Rin will face justice for their crimes. He looked around at the devastation. But something remarkable happened here today. You all saw it. Species with centuries of conflicts worked together to defeat a common threat. He turned to Tai Sung and Hana. You two started as opponents in a challenge. You became investigators exposing corruption. And today, you became defenders of the Council itself, leading a coalition of species to victory. That, more than any trial, proves both your worth. Does this mean Earth's petition is granted? One of Tai Sung's team asked. Earth's petition is granted, the head counselor confirmed. You have proven that humanity belongs among us. And Princess Hana, you have shown that true strength includes knowing when to make allies rather than opponents. The chamber erupted in applause. Not all species cheered, some were still wary of humans, but enough approved that it didn't matter. Earth had won its seat. Hana turned to Tai Sung. We did it. We did, he agreed, smiling tiredly. The challenge is officially over. The terms were clear. If you won, I belong to you. She said it formally, but her eyes showed something else. Not resignation, but curiosity. About that, Tai Sung said carefully. Those terms were made when we were enemies. I think we've moved past that. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we redefine the terms. Not as owner and prize, but as partners. Earth and Valoria working together, sharing knowledge and resources, making both our peoples stronger. Hana smiled, a genuine expression of relief and happiness. I would prefer that arrangement. And personally? He asked quietly, just for her to hear. Personally, I'd like to know you better. Tai Sung of Earth. Not as an opponent or a prize, but as someone I choose to spend time with. I'd like that too, Hana of Valoria. Around them, the work of cleanup and recovery continued. Medical teams tended to the wounded. Security forces removed prisoners. Diplomats began the complicated process of investigating the conspiracy. But for just a moment, two warriors from different worlds stood together, having proven that cooperation was stronger than conflict. They had started a journey as enemies and ended it as something much more valuable. Partners, allies, and maybe, given time, something even more than that. 3 months had passed since the battle in the Grand Colosseum. The station had been repaired. Kyle and Rin were awaiting trial on charges of conspiracy, attempted murder, and terrorism. Their testimony had exposed a network of corruption that shook several galactic governments. But from chaos came opportunity. Tai Sung stood in a newly established office marked with both Earth's flag and Valoria's crest. He was now Earth's official ambassador to the Galactic Council with full diplomatic authority. It was a huge responsibility for someone who had been just a ship captain 4 months ago. A chime sounded at his door. Come in, he called. Hana entered, wearing a modified version of her armor that incorporated both Valorian and human design elements. She had accepted a new position as liaison between the Valorian Empire and the Council, specifically focusing on building bridges with younger species like humanity. Ready for the ceremony? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Today was the official signing of the Earth-Valoria Partnership Accord, the first major treaty between their two civilizations. It would establish trade routes, cultural exchanges, military cooperation, and shared research initiatives. They walked together through the station corridors. Over the past months, they had spent countless hours working on the treaty, negotiating terms, and getting both governments to agree. It had been exhausting, frustrating, and somehow enjoyable. They worked well together, balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses. The ceremony was being held in the rebuilt council chamber. Representatives from both worlds attended, along with dozens of other species who wanted to witness this historic moment. Tae-sung's family had traveled from Earth for the occasion. His mother stood near the front, proud, tears in her eyes. His younger brother looked around at the aliens with wide-eyed wonder. Hana's family was also present. Her father, the Valorian emperor, stood tall and imposing. He had been skeptical of this partnership at first, but Hana had convinced him. She had told him about fighting alongside humans, about learning from their different perspective, about how much stronger both civilizations could be together. The ceremony began. Both Tae-sung and Hana gave speeches about cooperation, mutual respect, and building a better future. Then came the moment of signing. They stood at a holographic document, visible to everyone in the chamber. Tae-sung signed for Earth with his handprint and biometric signature. Hana signed for Valoria in the same way. The treaty was official. The chamber erupted in applause. Species who had watched two civilizations nearly destroy each other through the challenge now witnessed them becoming partners. It was a powerful symbol of what the Galactic Council could accomplish when it worked correctly. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Diplomats from dozens of worlds approached Tae-sung and Hana, offering congratulations and proposing their own potential partnerships. Earth had gone from isolated newcomer to respected member in just 4 months. At one point, Tae-sung found a quiet corner and just watched the crowd. His team was mingling, making connections, building relationships that would benefit Earth for generations. He felt proud of what they had accomplished. Tired? Hana appeared beside him with 2 drinks, offering one. A little, he admitted, taking it. It's been quite a journey. From enemies to partners, she said. I never expected this outcome when I issued that challenge. What were you expecting? Honestly, I thought you'd refuse. And if you did accept, I thought I'd win easily and prove humanity wasn't ready. She looked at him with genuine warmth. I was wrong. Very wrong. I was wrong too, Tae-sung said. I thought all warrior species were just brutes who valued strength over everything else. You taught me that warriors can be wise, thoughtful, and capable of changing their minds. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the party. What happens now? Hana asked. The treaty is signed. Our official duties are complete. Well, there's implementation, Tae-sung said. We'll need to establish the trade routes, set up the cultural exchange programs, coordinate the military cooperation agreements. That could take years. Years of working together? Hana smiled. I suppose I can tolerate that. Just tolerate. Perhaps more than tolerate. She looked at him directly. Tae-sung, we've been so focused on our professional partnership that we haven't discussed our personal one. His heart beat faster. They had been dancing around this topic for months, both aware of the attraction between them, but hesitant to address it. What do you want to discuss? On my world, when a warrior finds someone they respect, someone who challenges them and makes them better, we don't let formality stand in the way. She took his hand. You've become important to me, not just as a colleague, but as someone I care about. You're important to me too, Tae-sung said honestly. I've never met anyone like you. You're strong, intelligent, fierce, and somehow you see potential in me that I didn't know I had. So what do we do about it? She asked. We could take it slow, he suggested. Get to know each other outside of crises and ceremonies. Actually have normal conversations that don't involve treaties or conspiracies. Hana laughed. I'm not sure I remember how to have a normal conversation. We'll learn together. Across the room, Tae-sung's mother caught his eye. She saw him holding hands with Hana and smiled, giving a small nod of approval. Hana's father also noticed, his expression unreadable, but he didn't object. The reception continued into the evening. Eventually, Tae-sung and Hana excused themselves and went for a walk through the station's observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see stars, planets, and the endless expanse of space. Out there, Hana said, gesturing to the galaxy, There are thousands of species. Most of them have never heard of Earth or even Valoria. We're tiny in the grand scheme of things. But we matter, Tae-sung said. Every species matters. Every partnership makes the galaxy stronger. Spoken like a true diplomat, she teased. I learned from the best, he replied. A certain warrior princess taught me about strength, honor, and the courage to admit when you're wrong. And a certain human taught me about adaptation, persistence, and the value of thinking differently. They stood together, looking out at the stars. Both of them had changed so much in 4 months. They had started as representatives of their peoples, carrying the weight of expectations and prejudices. They had been forced into opposition by ancient traditions and political manipulation, but through trials and tribulations, they had found something better. Not just peace between their peoples, but genuine partnership. Not just respect between warriors, but real affection between two people who brought out the best in each other. Where do you think we'll be in a year? Tae-sung asked. Together, Hana said confidently. Wherever the work takes us, whatever challenges we face, we'll face them together. That's what partners do. And personally? She smiled, turning to face him fully. Personally, I think we'll be happy. Different species, different worlds, different ways of thinking, but somehow it works. We work. We do, he agreed, pulling her closer. They kissed for the first time, a gentle meeting that promised more to come. When they separated, both were smiling. The galaxy has no idea what it's in for, Hana said. A human and a Valorian working together? We're going to change everything. That's what humanity does best, Tae-sung said. We adapt, we grow, and we make friends in the strangest places. And what Valorians do best is stand by our allies, no matter what challenges come. They stood together at the viewport, two people from different worlds who had found common ground. Behind them, the reception continued with diplomats and leaders planning the future. Ahead of them, the galaxy stretched out with infinite possibilities. The challenge that had brought them together was over, but their real journey was just beginning. Earth and Valoria would grow stronger together, proving that cooperation was more powerful than conflict. And Tae-sung and Hana would build something personal and meaningful, showing that connections between species could go deeper than politics or treaties. In a galaxy full of countless beings, they had found each other, and that made all the difference. The station's lights reflected off the observation window, creating patterns that danced across their faces. In the distance, Earth hung like a blue jewel, humanity's home. Nearby, though not visible from this angle, was Valoria, the warrior world. 2 worlds, 2 peoples, 1 partnership, and a future brighter than either could have built alone. Ready to show the galaxy what we can do? Hana asked. Tae-sung squeezed her hand. Together? Always together. They walked back toward the reception, toward their duties and responsibilities, toward the complicated work of building a better galaxy. But they walked hand in hand, partners in every sense of the word. The challenge had asked what would happen if a human won against a Valorian princess. The answer surprised everyone. They both won. Earth gained a place among the stars. Valoria gained an ally who thought differently, and 2 warriors gained something neither expected when the challenge began. Understanding, respect, partnership, love. In the end, that was worth more than any victory in any trial. That was the real prize, earned not through conquest, but through choosing to see each other as equals, as partners, as something more. The galaxy watched and learned. Species that had viewed each other with suspicion began to communicate more. Old rivals started dialogue. The Galactic Council, shaken by the conspiracy, began reforms to prevent future corruption. And at the center of it all, a human ambassador and a Valorian princess worked together, proving every day that different species could not just coexist, but thrive together. The story that began with a challenge ended with a partnership. But really, it wasn't an ending at all. It was the beginning of something bigger, something that would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. The beginning of true cooperation between the stars. The beginning of humans proving they belonged among the galactic community. The beginning of a love story between two warriors who learned that the strongest bond isn't forged through conquest, but through choice. And the beginning of a new era where Earth and Valoria would stand together, showing the galaxy what was possible when species chose partnership over isolation, understanding over fear, and love over division. The stars shone on, eternal and unchanging. But beneath them, in the space between worlds, everything had changed for the better. This was humanity's story. This was Tai Sung and Hana's story. This was the story of what happened when a challenge between enemies became a partnership between friends, and finally a bond between two people who chose each other against all odds. And it was just the beginning.